93. So today is a bit different. The frequency is different today, right?
What? Yeah, 93. Sorry.
Yeah.
Хай звільняться від страждання, хай щасливі будуть, якнайшвидше просвітяться цілком життя. Тією метою, мовою доки просвітлюся, творю добро тілом, мовою і водом до останньої смерті. Творю добро тілом, мовою і водом до того часу завтра. У будні, парні і у громаді досконалі, верну притулок доки просвітлюся. Сьогодні чорним через та інших добрих дій. Хай просвітлення зринеться на вам всіх істот. У будні, парні і у громаді досконалі, верну притулок доки просвітлюся. Силою чесноти, червості та інших добрих дій, які творю, хай просвітлення зринеться на вам всіх істот. У будні, парні і у громаді досконалі, верну притулок доки просвітлюся. Силою чесноти, щедрості та інших добрих дій, які творю, хай просвітлення звершиться на вас усіх істот. І істоти матері моїх, безмежні кількістю, як небо, хай спокійно діти будуть, на причину злого. Хай вони звільняться від страждання і від причин страждань. Хай вони щасливі будуть в постійні страждання. Хай будуть приймоважені, вільні від бажання небуді, відходу на близьких і відходу матері моїх, безмежні кількістю, як небо, хай спокійні і вільні будуть, лихарні від причин злого. Хай вони звільняться від страждання і від причин страждань. Хай вони щасливі будуть в постійні страждання. Хай будуть приймоважені, вільні від бажання небо. І істоти матері моїх, безмежні кількістю, як небо, хай спокійні і вільні будуть, радитимуть причину злого. Хай вони звільняться від страждання і від причин страждань. Хай вони щасливі будуть в постійні страждання. Хай будуть приймоважені, вільні від бажання небо.
Марина.
12. Коротка піраміда.
Где свечка?
Сейчас вам материнская
С ним убежали ничего?
Красну світу, притулку недрівняний, аж славу молитви при тисячі світів. Ви цілий переможець, смертельна вражара. Очі вікнем воля, військо вклоняється вам. Серцем і руками виринули жертву вас. О, милосердний Богу, молю вас своїх. Молю, очисти серце від гріха свідомих. Благословіть, щоб справдити концепційну суть ума. Будь ласка, повертайте голос лукарні, великої малої присниць, і того, що вміє співано, згідно з заповами і здібності на всіх істот. Тепер нарешті є мікрофон, я можу вас зорієнтувати, що буде сьогодні відбуватися. Сьогодні в нас заплановано 3 сесії в день. Перша перерва буде о 12:30, і після цього наступна сесія починається о 14:30. Закінчення цим заплановано на 19:30. Знову треба буде дуже оперативно зібратися і піти, як вчора це робити. Друге, книжки вступних молитв, які вам роздали, ви можете повернути назад. І ви можете зробити, поклавши їх, ми зробимо це в магазинчику, покладіть їх там на стіл в магазинчик. Так само, сьогодні вам будуть роздавати ще тексти. Ви також мусите повернути їх назад. Їх можливо буде придбати, але трохи згодом. Наразі все. Бажаю всім приємних днів. Дякую.
그 산지 기간 비밀에서 하면서 이 산지 기간에서 산지 기간 추송의 주담을 내만이 어떤 데서 와서 봤던 남 공간에서 이게 고로마한테 이미 남들랑 이사족성권 나한테 내가 참 아마도 이게 주제를 인정해 주는 아니래 주를 인정해서 이게 그러니까 이게 그런 농민의 중앙에 있는 거 탑도 마찬 이게 주거를 고조선 장고를 또 그게 송장 주족상에 이거 좀 고조선 장고로 지금 오지 유마 제발에 고조선 되는 장고로 이 소차도 상신 가운데 상계 주를 변주를 하는 것이 이거 장때 이것이 이제 제만 이거에 우리 상하이 남자들과 다 따라서 이제 가면 되는데 난게 때문에 따라서 이거 난게 루당 세면 되는 양식인 것 같아요. 때문에 따라서 자들 따라서 이제 가면 되는 산지가 잡혀 남아게 주가 잡혀 남게 내기가 잡혀 가서 주종서 내가 하기 좀 그리고 생각도 잡아 라마서 하는 건데 무릎도 잡아 남 저래도 잡아 가고서 좀 제대로 나중에 보고 산지가 라마지 봐 주종이 라마지 봐 내기는 잡히 가고 주종도 봐 차도 대답을 하고 있으면 이만큼 남의 답을 따와서 남양선이 것다면 송아를 따와서 무슨
The English frequency for today is 93.
Yeah, so the English is 93, the English frequency. And so today, my Dharma friends, I will share some instructions on the 3 roots. And some people might think that, first of all, we take refuge. And when we take the refuge vow, we learn that the 3 jewels are very precious. And so today, we are talking about something different. Today, we are talking about the 3 roots. So they believe that the 3 roots and the 3 jewels are 2 different things. But that actually is not the truth at all. In the beginning, we need the basis of refuge in order to enter the gates of the Dharma practice. And in that context, we are taught the importance of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So first, we must learn the nature of the Buddha. And then the Buddha taught the Dharma. The Dharma basically is the teachings on the 2 truths. That is the relative truth, which is the infallibility of karma, cause and effect, and the ultimate truth, the teachings on emptiness. And so then the Buddha's disciples received those teachings, they practiced them, they developed bodhicitta, great compassion, and then attained enlightenment. So these disciples then who practiced the Dharma had become the Sangha. So from the Dharma then arises the Sangha. And so we have to understand that a Sangha is someone who has the ability to liberate others because they themselves have become free from suffering. And so within a single Sangha, actually, the 3 jewels are complete. That is, the form is the Sangha, the speech, the Dharma, and the mind is the Buddha. Within all the Sanghas, uninterruptedly, the 3 jewels are contained. So first, in the context of Pratimoksha and the Bodhisattva vehicles, we are introduced to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and that these are complete within one spiritual teacher, an authentic teacher. And now in the practice, the context of Vajrayana practice, we are introduced to the 3 roots. The 3 roots are our inner sources of refuge, whereas the 3 jewels are the outer sources of refuge. And so in the context of practice, we apply what we have learned to our own being of body and mind. We put it into practice. And so in that context, our source of refuge are the 3 roots. So here then the Buddha, the Lama is the one that represents the Buddha, the Yidam is the one that represents the Dharma, and the Dakinis and Dharma protectors represent the Sangha. They can accomplish the dual benefit of self and others. Also in empowerment, we have learned that the root of all blessings is the Lama. The root of all cities or accomplishments is the Yidam, and the root of all enlightened activities are the Dakinis or the Dharma protectors. So from the resultant and perspective, the Buddha and the Lama are indivisible. The Dharma and the Yidam are indivisible, and the Sangha and the Dakini and Dharma protectors are the same. So this is the first point we need to understand. And when we come to actual practice, from a practical perspective, our inner sources of refuge are the three roots. And so our outer sources of refuge are the three jewels. So in the beginning, we take refuge. We take the refuge vow. And then once we have taken refuge, our inner sources of refuge are the three roots. So that is when we engage in practice. So the basis are the three jewels, then the path are the three roots, and then the result is the accomplishment of the three kayas, or the attainment of enlightenment. Or we can also apply that to an outer example. For example, the seed of a flower. In the beginning, the outer refuge represents that seed is like the seed of a flower. And the seed of the flower first must be planted into the ground and must merge with the soil and water. And so that is when we take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We begin to reflect upon the four thoughts that turn the mind, we cultivate bodhicitta, and so on. So this is when the seed first encounters the soil and water. And then next it grows into a sprout, and that is the path, the three roots. So it has met with water and has grown into a sprout. And that is the path of the three roots. So then on the path, we practice the body as the yidam, the mind, bodhicitta, which is the mind of the guru, the lama, and the speech is mantra. With mantra, we accomplished the purpose of self and others. And that is the nature of the Dakinis or the Dharma protectors. So the path is the practice of the three roots. And then the result is the actually fully blossomed flower. And from that flower, again, countless seeds, new seeds emerge. So the flower represents the accomplishment of the Buddha's three kayas. So first, there's the quality of the Dharmakaya, and within the nature of Dharmakaya, all the Buddhas of the three times are actually one. In fact, they transcend singularity and multiplicity, but all the Buddhas are equal within this expanse. An outer example would be the sky or an ocean. The ocean, for example, exists, but there is no division, no duality in the ocean. There's only one essential nature of water. So the essence of all the Buddhas, the Buddha mind, is the Dharmakaya. And then that expanse, the nature of that expanse is naturally clear awareness. And that is the quality of Sambhogakaya. And from that clear quality, the countless Buddha forms and Pure Lands manifest. The various deities appear from the various Pure Lands, and then they actually manifest. Actually, some people have some doubts about the existence of the deities because we cannot see them with our eyes. They wonder what the deity actually really is. And so to explain the nature of the deity, it is said that the deities, which are the Sambhogakaya, possess the qualities of the five certainties.
시간 일단 미래가 당시가 무슨 요래 이 시기가 제일 요래 그 사실 것은 이때 마치 좀 마무리 거예요. 이때 장 다시 마도와 로과도와 소도와 이렇게 뒤로 가지고 가는 거 제대로 거예요. 이렇게 로그니 바가지 시기가 아마 이거 말이야 지금 말이야. 나랑 장시 주로 살기가 난데 어두워랑 시바지 쇼는 시바지 롱도 방마데나 내는 뭐 엄치게 여기 아빠 뮤지컬로 저기 뭐 똑같이 본 말이 난 똑같이 있지 이 동안이 받을 줄 똑같은 인상서 그 거기 받으니 사체모르고 사족도 마찬가지 이 말이 그런 거 많이 이제 감사 제시고 다시 감기가 되는 사례지 이다들 아무 것도 보지 않고 장이만 일라서와 저 이제 감장이 왜 일라에 장을 받을 요구요 해지.
And so if we understand those five certainties of Sambhogakaya, then we will be able to cultivate a trust, a belief that the Yidam deities actually are there. Because otherwise, often, if we don't understand that, we have all sorts of doubts about the reality of these three kayas, the qualities of these three kayas. And so because of that, because of our doubts, we give rise to all sorts of wrong views and misconceptions and partial, fractional understanding and so on. And that really is the source of all the conflict between various religions and lineages. So therefore, it is important to understand the five certainties of Sambhogakaya. And so actually, I myself do not have much learning. I do not know very much, but whatever I do know, I have to share with my Dharma friends. And whatever I do not know, I will just not mention that. So to briefly explain those five certainties of Sambhogakaya, the first certainty is the certainty of the place, which is the Akanishta Dharma Datum. The second is the certainty of time, that is timelessness, the wheel of time, that is timelessness. And then the certainty of the Dharma is the teachings of the Mahayana. Certainty of the teacher is the Buddha Vajradhara. And the certainty of the retinue is all the bodhisattvas who have reached the high bhumis, abiding on the great bhumis. And so if you understand those qualities of the five certainties, you will understand that those pure lands in some form actually do exist. And there's countless of such Sambhogakaya pure lands. And these are the places where the countless peaceful and wrathful and Yidam deities abide.
조금 나다 마다 이거요. 저는 마다가 나와서 소속들이 나게 되는 마다가 또 마다가 나와 잡히고 잡고 나와 저는 마다가 직접에 봐지 다시 다 말할 때 제가 직접 그거에 그래서 상대 경제 이제 특히 남도 상대 상대를 보고 내가 되니까 뭐 저게 내가 기와도 기와 일을 하는 게 당진에 보다 상관은 힘이 요리 도와 메리를 쓰게 받더라. 이렇게 다다마다 이 통고요. 그래서 아주 실제로 딱 현실화 통고요. 나중에 실제로 다른 거를 또 그런 동의만 통고요. 예를 들어 조금 더 다다마다 이해하려고 해서 아빠스에 아빠한테 저지가 계신이 함께 아빠차를 놓기로 해서 그리고 전자의 생기 때문에 도와줘 천지 마땅도록 나서 받는 너무 거울 생기 함께 마다가 차를 놓기로 해서 거울 생기 함께 싸워니 마다가 말해 조금 공부들 주단지 거좀 공부 많이 했죠. 네. 생기 함께 조금 공부 전자 저지 조금 공부 거예요. 가르치는 교육을 했잖아. 쭉 집안에는 상속식 시행으로 가자 대상이 근데 랑 다리를 조이지 또 탑는 거예요. 그래서 다 다리마다 어떤 잡히는 거서 녹이를 때문에 거기 라포트고 대난기 계획이 되고 말이에요. 장이 말이에요. 열심히 제치는 똑바로 봐. 그래서 이렇게 저지가 쭉 걸어서 저다는 생기도 쭉 가는 게 신대시 명분이 사실이 신대시 명분 관을 이제는 생각 담아내서 사기 좀 모두 로버트 마틴 다 기지로 어디 얘는 좀 좋게 되지 레사 되는 일이 저는 저런 따라 차대면 은혜 생기 말에 정말 은혜 이게 되게 마다가요 말해서 돼 저거 걸 공부로 어떤 저런 데 다는 내가 저런다고 그래 너는 이 편집한테 월드가 자꾸 또 말해 이런 데랑 미쳐고 하고 이 생기 함께 다지를 거서 상자되어 봐. 이 매운게는 라면서나 이 나지 탐대 거기로 하고 그래요. 상계 것은 어디 되지? 가이 나서는 대성매가 이런 거요. 제가 생기 함께 쭉으로 공부요. 대학원에 대표 맞춰보요.
So then for the Nirmanakaya, there is pure and impure Nirmanakayas. And so that is because ordinary beings have an impure perception. And that is because we perceive the reality of a self. And due to seeing ourselves as individuals, we give rise to afflictive emotions. And due to that, we perceive things in an impure way. But in reality, actually, there is nothing that is impure. Everything actually is pure by nature. All of existence is a vast field, an infinite field of great purity. And this is what the Buddhas can see. So therefore the Buddha himself had said, actually all beings are Buddhas. The Buddha saw them all as Buddhas. He didn't see any sentient beings. And he saw that this is only temporary. Temporarily we abide in a state of duality between virtue and non-virtue. So that is, we do grasp at a self, but also we possess some compassion as human beings, for instance. And due to that duality, we see things, certain things as pure and others as impure. When bodhicitta and compassion arises, we see things as pure, and when we become selfish, grasp at a self, we only see suffering. We see much suffering in the 6 realms of samsara. We see everything as impure. So we have said that the Nirmanakaya has a pure and an impure aspect. So what is the pure aspect of the Nirmanakaya? In our human world, for example, that pure aspect is represented by the spiritual friends, the teachers, those who tame sentient beings. And then actually all the sentient beings in the 6 realms are the impure aspect of the Nirmanakaya. For example, people, animals, and so on, all sentient beings in samsara are impure, temporarily impure Nirmanakayas. And so that is temporarily, because this is not their true nature. This is not what they really are. They are not really impure. Actually, it is said that all phenomena have the nature of the 3 kayas. So temporarily, we have this display of a pure and impure Nirmanakaya. And the reason for that is that on the one hand, the pure Nirmanakaya is one who has cultivated bodhicitta and has come free from self-grasping and is therefore able to show the method to become free from self-grasping to others. An example of such a spiritual teacher is, for example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who teaches that path on the worldly and spiritual level all over the world. But it's not just one spiritual teacher, there's actually countless spiritual teachers. And they are those pure Nirmanakayas who tame sentient beings. But then we have said also sentient beings, those to be tamed, are Nirmanakayas. And the reason for saying that is that they all possess Buddha nature. The mind itself is the cause of enlightenment. That is, the mind itself is completely pure by nature. That's why the Buddha had said beings are only temporarily obscured. And that is the obscuration of grasping at a self, the self-clinging mind. And due to that, we give rise to the 6 afflictive emotions. We accumulate karma. And that causes our mind to temporarily freeze into a block of ice. But in reality, there are really no sentient beings. In reality, by nature, there is actually nothing that is impure, and that is why we call sentient beings Nirmanakayas. So, and the appearance of ice is just a temporary occurrence, but temporarily, because it is frozen, it performs the function of a rock, a stone. So if you hit somebody over the head with an ice block, you will make them bleed, you'll hurt them. So it is just like a rock, but it's still not a rock. The nature is not rock, but it is water. And so this is what we need to understand, that ice is water, not a rock. And that is similar to understanding that sentient beings can actually become liberated from self-grasping. And when they become free from self-grasping, they have the potential to attain enlightenment. So anyone who makes an effort to practice the path, self and others, can become free from all suffering and attain enlightenment. So in the beginning, it is necessary that we understand the qualities of the 3 kayas in this way, because then whatever practice you engage in, you will be free of all kinds of doubts. So that is also a benefit of understanding the nature of Nirmanakaya.
Satan, brother, King, Tankin, Timothy, Nava, the Zatanka, social doctrine, the about 50 or the Kiva so. The daughter of Cosson, the Quatam Tara, Cotton Cosson, the Zatanki, the daughter of us. Indeed, the kind of deep high period. Oh, Sadi of Cosson, this Hungary. So there's some 대박이에요. 이 사진을 가려야 되는데 어디 취소 봐야 돼. 취소인지 취소인지 근데 이제 만들어서 맞좀 나들 보면은 이 사진 취대 하고 이제 사진이 이제 사진이 계속 되어요. 그래서 그러다 다하다가 저기 무슨이 사진 무슨 있잖아. 이 이치기는 그러다 다가 다시 요리들이 이제 또 통하고 다시 요리 something 요리 무슨 사진 잡지 생기는 요리 이제 또 같은게 조금 공부도 요리 무슨 매개요. 조금 기와도 그래서 나 저도 그것도 그러니까 자기 얘네들은 좋아하는 아들 감이 좋고 버리겠나 이 강의들이 조금 사기에서 좀 문제 뭐 대리 기억을 배나 무슨 세분 내로 가서더니 생들아 생기잖아 무슨 뭐 아빠 주고 생기와 동화 나갔다 무슨 일이 대리 주고 이제 라미사의 시도 동반에 받았더니 사는 사공성도 좀 받더니 사람한테 맞아봐 이제 갔다 왔다 되니까 키라다 된다 근데 걔를 맞도록 집이 타게 특히 그런 차를 조금 좀 상반에 있는 게 좀 요래 되나 상반에 있는 게 좀 별로 들어오시잖아요 다소 잡던 게 맞아 보여는 거 맞이 주고 안지 오마라서 안지는 거요. 그 데이터가 좀 도와줄 수 있는 탐지를 해봐도 되겠더니 요한도 사실 좀 차지요. 나 저렇게 바꿔서 대대적 마음들이 굉장히 많다와 탐지 조금 공부 많이 찍다 말에 느끼기가 조금 배우는 거래. 대회는 조금 늦은 데이터를 해서 이제는 다 답답하고 그 강도 집이로 해서 라마는 교육이 뜻도 무슨 진 그것은 지나 이 대비 용기 함께 살게 좀 용기 함께 그래서 생기는 거 도랑 그래서 어떻게 또 나들이 좀 다좀 배웠다고 도야요 봐. 다 동네 이렇게 세트 봐. 그게 동시에 그래서 남들 요구를 자기 고생을 해서 너는 또 어떤 거를 참 두고 어떤 때려봐 맞아 붙이고 내봐 대시대에 비치고요.
And then there's various forms of the Nirmanakaya. For example, there is the incarnated Nirmanakaya that appear, for example, in the form of the lamas, the spiritual teachers, those who show the path to sentient beings, but also they appear in other forms, in the particular forms of the sentient beings of the 6 classes of samsara. For example, they might appear as a bird or a wild animal and so on. The Nirmanakaya is incarnate in various forms, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a human being, a lama sitting on a high throne and wearing a brocade or being Tibetan and so on. The Nirmanakayas also appear as animals, for instance, as like birds or wild or even carnivorous animals and so on. Or, for example, in the hell realm or in the hungry spirit realm and so on. So these appearances, incarnations, are the incarnated Nirmanakayas. And then, secondly, there is the artisan or the created Nirmanakaya, and that is, for example, the representations, the images of the Buddha, like a statue or a tanka, any representation of the Buddha's body, speech, and mind. So, for example, when you see an image, a statue of a Buddha, then based on this statue, you recognize, oh, this is the Buddha. And based on this representation, then faith, devotion rises in your mind. And then because you remember the Buddha, you remember the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha. And that helps you then to open your eyes to the workings of karma, on what to do and what not to do. And so based on seeing a Buddha image, we understand the Dharma, for example. And if we understand the Dharma, then gradually the enlightened qualities can also arise within our own mind stream. So when you see an outer representation, like a tanka, for instance, then you develop trust that this is the actual Buddha. And if you have such a firm trust, there actually are stories where those images have been talking to certain beings, have been giving them teachings and so on. And that is because the mind of the Buddha actually comes to this image. So it is a Nirmanakaya. So there is these first two Nirmanakayas. And then the third type is called the manifold Nirmanakaya. And that is anything that naturally arises in this world. For example, the 5 elements are Nirmanakayas. And all of these naturally appearances arise from the great compassion of the Buddha's mind. So, for example, when also the 3 kayas can be understood to be complete within your own mind. When you look at your own mind and you see the actual nature of the mind, what you see is an empty essence. And that empty essence is just like space, naturally empty. There is no division, no duality. And that is the quality of the Dharmakaya. But then this empty space also has a quality of clarity, of clear awareness. And that is the quality of the Sambhogakaya. So it is empty, but also there is some clarity, a clear knowing capacity within that emptiness. So that is what we refer to as clear, clarity and empty nature of the mind, clear and empty nature of the mind. And that clarity has the quality of knowing. And there's 2 types of knowledge. There's the knowledge of knowing things as they are, and then knowing the extent of things, all the things that exist. So that is the knowledge, the knowing quality. And then this expanse of empty clarity is all pervasive. And this all pervasiveness is a radiance of love and compassion. And from that emerges the quality of the Nirmanakaya, great compassion for all those sentient beings who have not realized the nature of mind. For example, a sign of that, of this natural Nirmanakaya, is, for example, even with animals who have a child, for example, naturally milk flows, so they can feed their offspring. The milk flows naturally. So that's also a form of Nirmanakaya, actually. So we can actually understand Nirmanakaya, anything that brings about the benefit and the well-being of sentient beings in the 6 realms. So the 5 elements are Nirmanakayas. Or clouds, the sun and the moon, and so on. In fact, everything that appears and exists, the universe and sentient beings, actually is all Nirmanakaya. So if you see it in this way, you will understand what we really mean with Nirmanakaya. And so of the various forms of Nirmanakaya now, what is most important to us now as practitioners is to see the incarnated Nirmanakaya, the Guru, as the actual Buddha, and to see that the 3 kayas are complete within this Guru. And then that Guru introduces us to these qualities, and being inspired by his words, we want to engage in practice. And we know that through his instructions, that if we engage in practice, as a result, we will also attain those qualities of the 3 kayas. And knowing that, we will persevere in practice and accept whatever difficulties we encounter. So knowing all that will inspire us to enter the path of practice. So that is why it is important to understand the nature of the 3 kayas. And so for us, it is most important to understand that there is nothing whatsoever in the 6 realms that is actually impure. The beings of the 6 classes of samsara all are actually Nirmanakayas. So that is important to understand.
이들은 따와서 라마 속으로 되는 거예요. 라마 속으로 되는 라마지다 보자 되는 신라부터 라마지 신라때 가리를 하고 라마지 나보다 라마지 좋게 크는 거지나 그게도 왜 라마지 좋게 클 때 이거 해야 한다 봐요 말이 이 가시기 좋은 한 거에다가 자와탄 지키봐라 중국당 거요 이제서 색깔이 좋은 공부요 이거지 정말 신라 지바데 사람 지바데 가리를 보고 있잖아 왜냐면 소생기한테 생기 자공자들 찾으면 코로나에 장관한테 생기한테 생긴 자공은 찾으면 자공제 능력을 하기 위해 이 자공들이 쉬어보고 제일 나시가 도다가 도다가 걔는 도다가 가리를 라마지 생기가 되는 라마지 생기들이 삼재요리 라마지 삼재도 소소하고 하면 솔직히 삼재끼는 삼재도 도다가 얘가 이나랑 파 삼재지 남선하지 제일도 삼재지 도대도 자공이 션 얘들 처음에 첫째부터 배주로 봐 랑간 통조가 이거 틀려 통과 차는 거예요 너는 라마 짜지 라마다 라마 센스 보자 보여야지 그 라마 그것까지 라마 그것까지 조금 가면 난 샘지라 그냥 사촉체려야지 저는 미리 지발에 조금 이제 약보다 말이 미즈만 올라가고 저들 padre mires 내가 단지 좀 미래라서 난 세대 좀 말하면서 가까이 지핑을 로다 시랍다 니지 치고 들라만 생 시랍다 니지 토고 시랍 토고를 니지 토고 니지 토고들이 시랍 토고들 그 삼제 토고도 송이 예단지 라마지 송이 예단 예단을 가면 이제 다 지난 거 다고 삼바된 니지 몸이 삼바된 니지 몸들이 성적인 나게 생긴 나게 이제 다 뻗차게 뭐게 뭐들이 성적이 자에 나게 생긴 나게 다들 있는 걸로 봤더니 우리 생긴 나게 또 삼바된 니지 얘들이 다단계 생긴 나게 나디는 무예라리 삼대고 와차 그거예요. 제가 그러면 송이게 당 라마지 송이게 당 그리고 톡하로지나 톡이라는 새는 하루씩 봐도 또만일 거고 그래. 동담을 타도들이 다 이미와 뒤동담을 때만 통들이 그는 하루 삼에 타도가 주고 염치 모아서 하루 또만일 거고 그래. 동주들 가리 인하지 담게 그저 통을 매와 잡으려 말이지. 나기 임도 단지도 봐서 돈이 돈거는 들이 돼서 내라고 차는 거요. 들은 코바지 맞다는 거. 일라가 톡하고 꼴라마 송이다 톡하고 라마지 따라서 디바레 라마 찍은 디바레 들은 양서를 갖다니 작성통이 라마지라 꼴라마 송이다 톡하고 좀 나도 도서 이제 또 고아차고 해야지.
And so now from our perspective, as still being sentient beings who have not realized this, how should we begin our practice? In the beginning, we must rely on a qualified Lama, a guru. We mentioned yesterday during the empowerment, the guru is the root of all blessings. And so first we take refuge. When we take refuge, we learn how to rely on the Sangha, how to consider the Sangha as precious. We learn that the Sangha is our supreme companion. And then in the context of practicing the three roots, the most important reliance is our guru. We have said the root of all blessings is the guru. And so here we must first understand what we actually mean with blessings. What is a blessing that we receive from the guru? And so when we look at the guru, we see the guru's form. And so is that how we receive the blessings? Actually, is there any benefit of just being in the presence of the guru's form, or like bringing the guru with you wherever you go? Actually, there's no benefit in that. It will only just break your back, being very heavy. And actually, some people will only see the faults of a guru the longer they are in his company. For example, there's even people who are criticizing His Holiness Dalai Lama. So from that perspective, if we focus on the outer form of the guru, we will only see faults and not many qualities. So then what is the blessing that we receive from the guru? So our mind as sentient beings is like a block of ice. Being in samsara is like being in the freezer, in a fridge, and that makes our mind frozen like an ice block. And the nature of ice is suffering. So to be free from that, we must melt the ice. And the blessing is like the warmth and the waves of heat that can melt the ice block. And that is the mind of the guru. It is a mind of love. And when we receive that mind, that means love arises in our own mind, then we have received those waves of heat or warmth that will melt our own ice block. So receiving the blessings of the guru means that compassion arises in your own heart and the ice melts into water. And once it is water, it becomes useful. You can drink it and you can help wash others with it and so on. So what is more important than to protect the guru's body is to protect or to adhere to the guru's mind. And so the guru's form is the Nirmanakaya. But what is really important for us is the inner mind, with a mind of bodhicitta. So on the outer level, the guru appears as a human being, and Nirmanakaya. But actually the term Nirmanakaya itself, Druku, which actually implies something that is not the greatest connotation actually. Actually it implies something that's unreal, something fake, like a fake person or so. So appears just like a human being. So that it also implies that we should not focus on the outer appearance. For example, His Holiness Dalai Lama appears as an ordinary human being, and nothing special, just like us. But then what's more important to us is his mind. His mind is not the same, because his mind is a mind of great altruism, of great compassion, of great wisdom. So that is what we need to develop. It is his compassion and his wisdom. If we wish to develop wisdom, we must first give rise to compassion. So this is how we understand the nature of the guru. And then the guru's speech is the yidam deity. So in the beginning, we cultivate love and compassion. And then we recognize that everything that appears and exists, and human beings and the universe, are actually pure. So with the speech, the guru introduces us to the nature of the universe and sentient beings. And based on that, we begin to see the outer universe as an immeasurable mansion, a pure realm, and also sentient beings as deities, because their nature is actually pure. It is pure because they possess Buddha nature. So the guru instructs us first give rise to love and compassion, and then cultivate a pure perception. And by hearing these instructions, your mind relaxes, because you begin to understand whoever gives rise to bodhicitta, whoever is free from self-grasping, will become completely enlightened, pure. So the guru's speech is the yidam deity, and the mind is the dakini. And that is the ultimate meaning of dakini is actually emptiness. It is the non-duality of self and others. It is to see the ultimate truth. So the ultimate dakini is the great mother dharmakaya, emptiness. And so what we mean here with emptiness is, it doesn't mean that the whole universe and everything just disappears and there's nothing there anymore, but it means to realize that self and others, this dualistic perception, the way things appear, this is not how they really exist. They do not beings do not possess inherent existence. So when you understand that, it is easy to comprehend the nature of emptiness. And when you understand emptiness, you will begin to see all of those appearances in samsara like an illusion. So in the context of practice now, we see the form is the lama, the speech, the yidam, and the mind is the dakini. So this is how we first need to approach a path of practice.
这个他这没办法对，受农够干这小娃子抽啥嘛，我有个就有人这个我多把这看这我多把这把看的，你要嘛啥家长呢？啥的啥是身体话的，谁不懂的？这那说话他就咔咔说说的嘛。能身体这个呀的，这个往家头那啥就这个，这个都给的这啥就这个这个，从这个这个我们就把那啥，往不过的那些，曾经有没把他这边的，就说那把那做的啥，送我那各种各送我从这个。那么就不是不的这啥的，那么不是不的，长的哈，那么说的说什么的，中通中比较好当，通这个在那块儿，我就这是没法打的，因为我就是走上了，他那么钱走上的，这里那么他就大陆的上面的，我们不用嘛来吃，那么用这些呢。
And so now in the context of speaking about the Lama, it is important first of all to understand the qualities of a Lama. And so for that, first of all, we need to understand what is a Lama, someone that we give that name. So in the Tibetan, it has those two syllables, La and Ma. Actually, there is many different explanations about that, but to give a simple explanation, the first syllable La refers to like the vital essence, the life force. So he is like the spirit or the life force of all sentient beings. And that is that most beings, those who are endowed with fortunate karma, can see the preciousness of such a great master. So that he is their life force because they like him. For example, most people like His Holiness the Dalai Lama. There's maybe only some who, because they are controlled by jealousy and so on or other conditions, don't really understand or misunderstand or have a partial understanding. They might criticize him, but most people who have some intelligence like him. And what is the reason for that? Because we like to listen to his words. And if we understand his words, then we are able to accept the suffering we experience now and are able to avoid more causes of suffering in the future. So based on his words, we understand the workings on karma. So when we hear his words, we become free from suffering. That is why we consider his words as very precious. And so that is why when we see him, we remember his words. And when we see him, we naturally feel very happy. This is certainly my own personal feeling. And the reason why we like him, actually, he doesn't give us any gifts, like he doesn't hand out candy and so on. So why do we like him then? He doesn't give us anything. Why does such a feeling arise? Or, for example, why do you like me? Actually, I have nothing to give to you. There's nothing I give to you. I'm not passing around candy. I'm not doing anything special for you. But then why do you still like me? It is because I love you, because in my heart there is love for all beings. So that is why beings are drawn. So he is like the life force, like the vital life essence of all beings. We are drawn to him. And then the second syllable Ma means like mother. He is like the mother of all sentient beings. And actually, we all have been each other's parents in a past life. And so the Lama is someone then who has realized that and who has developed the four immeasurables, great love for all sentient beings. And because this feeling always remains in his mind, naturally when we encounter them, this feeling reaches us and we feel drawn to them, we love them. So we feel drawn to them, which is the first syllable La, and then the second syllable Ma is that he loves us all without any bias, due to having developed immeasurable compassion, love and compassion. So when you understand that, you understand the actual nature of what we mean with Lama, who we call a Lama. And then if you understand what that means, you think, if I also give rise to love for sentient beings, I can become just like that. For example, you then are inspired to cultivate love for your companion, your friends, and you are kind to them. You do not grasp at them or try to own them or become jealous and so on. So all of these qualities arise by just understanding the meaning of the Lama, the spiritual friend. So he's someone with great love for all sentient beings. Milarepa also had said that although a Lama might possess a lineage and great instructions, and great learning in the teachings, one indispensable quality he must possess still is compassion. And if he possesses this quality, it is a qualified guru. So the reason why we like a guru, we are drawn to a guru, is because there is love in his heart. Has nothing to do with his outer form. But when we see his outer form, we remember his love. So we like to see his outer form. And even more so do we like to hear his words. Because when we understand the meaning of his words, we become liberated from suffering. But what we really must understand is the Guru's mind, and that is a mind of love. So the form is the Nirmanakaya, the speech is the Sambhogakaya, and the mind is the Dharmakaya. So we must understand that as most important. If a guru appears in an outer form but lacks, appears as a guru on the outer level but lacks love and compassion in his heart, then it is of no benefit. We will not give rise to devotion. So the mind is what is most important. The body will be lost, but actually it is just this particular form of the body. The actual enlightened form of the guru will not be lost, because the guru after death will arise in whichever yidam deity he has practiced. And these are the instructions that he has given us, the instructions on the generation stage, the deity yoga practice. And that is what he has habituated to, has accomplished. And so after death, then the guru naturally arises in the form of that yidam deity in the bardo, just like a rainbow in the sky. And the mind of the guru certainly can never die. But in the form of the Sambhogakaya will take birth in the pure land of whichever yidam deity. And so, although there are countless different pure lands of the Sambhogakayas, within the ultimate mind of all the Buddhas, there is no duality. It is that within the expanse of wisdom awareness, all the Buddhas are actually one. So the essence of all the gurus, of all the Buddhas, is a single one, like a vast ocean. They appear in various forms according to the needs of countless sentient beings, but at the same time they remain unmoving from the Dharmakaya mind. And that is an expanse that transcends singularity and multiplicity. So on the Dharmakaya, the speech being Dharmakaya is the various appearances of peaceful and wrathful deities and so on. And no matter how many may appear, their essence is always empty. There is no duality between them. And that is important to understand when we practice a deity. And then even if you practice 100 deities, you must understand that they possess all one single mind. The outer appearance may vary, but the inner mind is always a single one. So, for example, even if you receive 100 empowerments, it is sufficient to practice only one deity well. And by doing so, you will accomplish all the deities of all those empowerments. And that is the quality of their bodhicitta. So, the mind of all the deities is the Dharmakaya. It is the same. On the Sambhogakaya level, they appear in various forms according to the needs of sentient beings. So the guru should be understood to be an embodiment of the three kayas, the form being the Nirmanakaya, the speech the Sambhogakaya, and the mind being the Dharmakaya. And so if you understand that, then you will understand that even if this present form of the Guru perishes, the Guru will continue to exist in the form of the Sambhogakaya's mandala. And the mind always remains an unchanging space-like expanse of Dharmakaya that is beyond birth and death. So understanding that, you will know that actually the Lama can never die. And if you know that, then you will be free of suffering, of misery. So that is why it is important to understand this quality.
그래서 나 이신이 뒤바라 라인 소리는 이신이 뒤바 소모데 강기 있는 이 바세를 지는 이 특제지 이 초대적 바에 간데 이니 동화를 위해서 기본적으로 자세라는 예서 라를 위해서 계시이 감사치도 대류자치와에서 이 말이 양대는 좀 못하면 위에서 도와준 말은 이거 클라로 그러지 이 예시이 나체들한테 이제 뭐라고 그게인가 이 기와처럼 탐지를 들이 랑도를 좋아 탑도 같은 답이 주로 이게 몇 있다라게 예비 대담처럼 하고 있는데 되더니 이거 소만 그래요 원래 대자다 이 중중단계나 가지에서 원가는 것도 내가 보이는 거요 가지에서 어떤 가지에나 파마지고 또 이거 많이 기억 만만하고 이제 생기는 내용을 원래 르적크스도 얼마나 되나 놀라대다가 라마는 계시 이게 나게 용기지 같이 보이는데 문이까지 같이 오 계시 자체로 르적까지 저도 하고 내리기서 나도 원래 대상한테 라마 계시 용기지 제 기반을 되자다면서 가지고 라마냐면 라마 끌지지 라마 끌지를 그 가가서 또 말이 라마 끌지도 오 라마 똑같을까 봐 자기가 봤다 봐 라마 똑같을까 봐 라마 끌지 이 어떤 남는 같이 줬다 봐 이 라마 먹고 거치면 돼 나무 끌다는 거 이 다도 죽을 봐 다도 죽을 있으면 봐대 이제 봐도 뭐는 거지 라가 세고 내놓고 이제 봐 참들 라마 거다 라마다 라가 세 라마다 다시 사제에서 예배 봐하고 그 뭐는 거지 사초랑 세도 다시 좀 맞아요 대 로버스들이 라마 거지를 봐대 아무 쪽까지 이런 거 같은 사초 쪽까 이제 봐 뭐는 거 사제들도 온 거거든 라마도 타격 될지 라마 용기도 고쳐도 좋고요 너는 계신이 짜치 보지 마. 그 계신身体 짜치 보지 마. 대체 계신이 참기를 짜치 보지 마. 저는 이렇게 용진 참기라고 자는 거죠. 나라가 찍기, 나라 찍을 때 같이 보니다 매잖아. 내가 소리가 요거래. 내가 같이 자시나. 내가 용진이 같이 자시나. 세 자치를 오요래. 어떻게 지나느라고 참 애들 남았더니 요래. 어때 도망가는 거 양내는 줄 알아요. 그래서 저 살라고 치워야 되는 이유가 아마 너는 계획이 잡지 짜지 못 봐. 나는 소리마다 그 써먹다는 용띠의 영향도 비고 해야지.
And so there's 37 Bodhisattva practices. There's one verse that teaches on how we should rely on our spiritual teachers. And it says in there that we should we should consider our spiritual teacher even more dear than our own body. So normally when we ask what is more important, is it our own body or is it one's teacher, then of course we naturally think that our body is more important. But actually, if you think about it more carefully, this is not the case, because the body is just like an old pair of clothing that in the end you will cast aside. But whatever you have learned from your teachers is what you will bring with you. So even the things you have learned from your worldly teachers, but also the things, especially that you have learned from your spiritual teachers, that is something you will bring with you, like having two open eyes. You will bring that with you in all future lifetimes. So even if you leave this body behind, you will bring the qualities that you have learned with you into your future lives. For example, there might be two siblings of the same parents, and one of them is doing very well in his studies, very eager to learn, and the other one, no matter how hard the parents try, he doesn't want to learn anything. And that is because although their body is not the same, from a past life, they bring with them this a mental continuum of habitual imprints of whatever they have learned. So therefore, whatever we learn from our worldly and spiritual teachers is really very precious. So that is why we say that the spiritual teacher is even more precious, more dear than one's own body. Because no matter how much we cherish our body, in the end, it will perish. There's no way around that. We will die, and the mind will continue to follow one's karmas. So, for example, when we practice the guru according to the Kagyu lineage, there is a practice called accomplishing the 4 kayas of the guru. And actually, although they are explained separately, they are not really actually separately. They're only a gradual path of realization. So first we practice the nirmana kaya of the guru, and here we practice him in the form of Shakyamuni, and then we practice the Sambhoga Kaya form of the guru, in the various forms of the Yidam deities, like Chinrizik or Vajrayana and so on, or whichever Yidam deity. And then we practice the Nirmana, the Dharmakaya of the Guru, which is the non-duality, the empty nature of the Guru. And so here we realize that actually that mind and the Guru's mind, my mind and the Guru's mind, are actually indivisible. And so when we come to that point of realizing the Guru's Dharmakaya, we realize that my own mind, the Guru's mind, and the Buddha's mind are actually indivisible. And finally, we realize that therefore the 3 kayas are complete within my own mind. And that realization is the 4th kaya, the Svabhavika kaya. So actually those 4 kayas are not separate. They're just, we're introduced to them in a separate way as a skillful means to gradually realize and acquire the qualities of the Guru, which are all qualities within a single mind. So in brief, what is important for us, for our purposes, is to consider the mind of the Guru as most precious, and to consider all teachers, worldly and spiritual, as precious in general. And if we see their preciousness, if we appreciate them, then we will also adopt their good qualities in our own mind. So therefore, you should be free of any bias. You should not think that I'm only devoted to this guru, but not to anyone else. So be free of any bias. The greater your devotion, the greater your compassion, the more open and vast your mind will become. And then, of course, while you see all gurus as good, there often is a karmically destined root guru from many lifetimes to whom you have a special karmic connection. And then reliance on that guru will bring special, even more special blessings. So when you consider the qualities of the guru, you should remember this verse on the 37 practices, considering the guru even more dear than your own body.
그래서 오 랑게 저기 저다 랑게 빵다 봐. 내가 그저 랑게 저다 봐. 제 차에 뭐들이 이 저기 이제 누구도 누구도 양대한 거 써먹고 보면 이 시합을 거치 이런 남들 만날 바에 그래야지.
And so the guru is just like the eyes of a blind that gives sight to the blind. So we think that I am not blind, I can see. But actually, what do you want? What you really want is to be happy. Nevertheless, you do not know how to create happiness. You do not develop much love and compassion. You do not want to suffer, but still, all you do is engaging in actions with body and speech that come from a motivation of resentment, anger, of jealousy. And if you engage in such actions, you do not know that in the future these will ripen into more suffering. And so that is blindness, even worse than blindness, to lack the sight of karma. So the guru is the one that gives sight to the blind. So actually, all you want is to be happy. You do not want to punish yourself, obviously, but in a way you're really doing it, because although you want to be happy and you don't want to suffer, still you engage in actions that come from a motivation of anger and jealousy and so on. And you do not know that this is what causes all your suffering right now and will cause all your suffering in future lifetimes. So not knowing that, you are unknowingly punishing really yourself. So then when the eyes of karma are opened, when you have sight, then you will learn how to abandon, how to avoid more causes of suffering in the future, and how to create the causes of happiness. So therefore we say the guru is like our heart, or like our eyes that open our heart, or that help us open our eyes. So think about it in this way again and again. When you understand the guru in this way, your mind will open up, your wisdom will increase, and then you will know what to do and what not to do.
또 저렇게 나고자지만 이게 나고자지만 안내랑 세지 상태에 하고 내랑 하고 여기 암세 좀 나고자요 말이야. 속같은 예반이 봐. 뒤에는 나고 속같은 송들들이 그거요 봐. 송들도 그리고 송지 좀 다들이가 그치만 이쪽에 라운드만 받기나 이 나무라마 때문에 라마 사족처럼 소화돼. 우리를 라마 사족처럼 상반된 굉장히 라마리 대비되는 것도 잡을까니 사생에서 가족 같은 사족처럼 잘나 쭉 가야 하는데 비도요 말 사족처럼 맞잖아 주기다 마시다 그래서 사족처럼 뜨고 그래야 되는 거 사용 그거요 니도 라마 시바데 라마 사족처럼 유지 나면서 하고 싶어하대 이때 무슨 때나 그따와라 말아 모르는 라마를 생기다 이 돈이다 근데 가요라는 걸 랩토피 원래 제 생기 중에 집안 말래 내가 로그 중에다 이 무슨 속도 로그 중에다 로그 중에 잡는 거 로그시 받을 집안에 사마다 문제 집안에 시작 집안에 이제 한글 중에 된다는데 다 탑을 봐라지 이제 제 봐라는데 용기를 되는데 용어를 잡지 용기는 비
So we should consider all the gurus really endowed with immeasurable qualities. And so then when we hear their words, then when we see them as precious, we want to hear their words. And when we hear their words, we must understand the meaning. And then we also must protect that meaning. We must keep that meaning. So first, we must understand what is being said. And secondly, we must experience the meaning. For example, you think love really is the cause of happiness. And then finally, thirdly, we must realize. And realizing means that you know how to sustain that state. It always remains unwaveringly. So you realize that the actual mind of the guru is a mind of love. It is not the body. Through the body, we approach the guru, we come close to the guru to hear his words, and then once we heard his words, we must understand them, and then hold on to them and practice them unmistakably, following the laws of karma and knowing what to do and what not to do. And ultimately, it is that I supplicate the ultimate guru, my own mind of bodhicitta. So love and compassion is your actual inner guru. So in the context of the refuge, previously we have learned that no matter what we practice, whether we practice on the Bodhisattva yana or the Vajrayana, if you separate from a mind of bodhicitta, no matter what dharma you practice, it will become useless. And if you never separate from bodhicitta, even if you do not know much, bodhicitta itself will help you progress through all the levels and the paths. Especially as we rely on the lineage, the practice lineage of blessings. So if you have devotion to your own root guru, if you only sustain that, then through your devotion, all the qualities in that root guru's mind will arise in your own mind, qualities of emptiness and compassion. And the reason why they can arise in your own mind is because, to begin with, the mental continuum of yourself and the guru is a single one. For example, it is just like electricity or light. Light energy is the same, no matter where you go in the world. There's only one such a thing called like energy or electricity. It all is the same. So love, compassion, wisdom, it all is the same. And so through the skillful means provided by the Buddha, we adopt these qualities, we realize them within our own mind stream. And that is realized through an ongoing effort that we make in practicing those words with great diligence. And so that basically means remember the quality of love continuously. And then it is important to develop the three types of faith or devotion. And so first is the clear faith. And that is, first we must understand the qualities of the Buddha and the Dharma. We must understand the workings of karma. And if we understand karma, then we will be able to tolerate, to accept the suffering we experience now, and we will be able to avoid more suffering in the future by abandoning its causes. So we attain sort of freedom by remembering the qualities of the Buddha and the Dharma. So remember those qualities, read books and so on. Then secondly, there is the longing faith, and that is the longing for liberation from suffering for self and others. And here then you must realize that unless you actually liberate yourself from suffering in these 6 afflictive emotions, there is no other way at all to become liberated from suffering. So in other words, if you do not give rise to love and compassion, you will never become free from self-grasping, and therefore you will never become free from suffering. For example, even if you would throw an atomic bomb on someone with self-grasping, maybe with an atomic bomb you can destroy the entire world, but you cannot destroy self-grasping. Even if you blow up the entire world, you would still bring with you self-grasping, which will again happen elsewhere. So therefore, realizing that, you'll see that love and compassion are qualities that are even more important than one's own life force. And that is to trust in that. That is the third type of faith, the trusting faith. So first you need to understand the qualities of the Buddha and the Dharma, and that is that clear faith. And there's a wish to become liberated, and that is the longing faith. And then the method to liberation is love and compassion. So trust in that is trusting faith. And only when you trust in that, your faith will become unchangeable. So the trusting faith is unchangeable. The clear faith and the longing faith actually can change. You must understand, in order to become free from suffering, you must give rise to love and compassion. And if you fail to give rise to love, there will be no other way to ever become free from suffering. So to trust in that is trusting faith. And of all different kinds of faith or devotion, this is the most supreme, this is the greatest, the highest form of faith that you can develop, and therefore the most important one.
И потому это ведь самое важное.